So this meeting is being recorded. Welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Jamie Webb. I'm here with City Planner Jeff Bagg, DPW Staff Engineer Diane Rossini. See who else is in. Here we have DPW Director Greg Nuttleman and a couple city councilors, Councilor Gomez, and Councilor Denham, and everyone else from the community. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Also here joined by our consulting project engineer from Fuss O'Neill, Julie Busa. I just want to thank you again for coming out tonight. I know everyone's very busy, but your attendance tonight and participation is very appreciated. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to have a presentation discussion regarding our proposed application for the FY 2022-2023 Community Development Block Grant funds. I'm going to begin with a brief explanation and overview of the meeting or the projects, and then let some other city staff go into further detail. We'll have time for question and answer and comments towards the end. I just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being video recorded. So just a little background about the program, the Community Development Block Grant Program. It's a federally funded program that passes money from the federal government to the states through the Department of Housing and Community Development, and primarily funds projects that benefit low to moderate income individuals and families. In Easthampton, we mostly focus on infrastructure improvements, although other communities have more consistent funding for the program, often will fund social service projects as well. We don't automatically receive these funds. It's a competitive grant application to the Department of Housing and Community Development. And one of the ways we show public support for our grant application is through this public hearing process. Typically, grant applications are limited to $800,000 per year with a cap of $1.35 million in any 2 years. But because of the COVID pandemic, the 2022 and 2023 grant applications were combined. And so we are eligible for up to $1.35 million this year. Before I go any further, I just wanted to briefly note that we will be holding another community meeting sometime this spring, which would evaluate the entirety of the 2020 block grant program and the 2021 block grant program. Those funded the Charles Street reconstruction project and the Cherry Street project. So at this point, I want to open the application hearing with a brief discussion of what we've done to get us here today. So the grant proposal that we're looking at is a continuation of the previous work we've done in the New City neighborhood with that culminated in the New City Infrastructure Master Plan. That was funded with the 2020 block grant program. Beginning in the fall of 2021 and continuing through the spring of 2022, the city and Fuss O'Neill surveyed and assessed the neighborhood infrastructure and held 2 on-site community meetings to better understand residents' needs and desires in the neighborhood. The brief version of that work is that the neighborhood has many needs for improvements. A lot of the infrastructure is over 100 years old. The water, sewer, and drainage infrastructure all needs to be replaced. That repair and replacement of these systems will necessitate that we tear up the streets and sidewalks and then restore it afterwards. And the restoration process provides opportunities to rethink how we build back what was taken or what was torn up, and the opportunities to add green infrastructure, new parks, and bicycle and pedestrian amenities throughout the neighborhood. The full master plan can be viewed and downloaded on our website, easthamptonma.gov/new city. So for the 2022-23 grant application, we're proposing to apply for funding for final design, construction documents, and cost estimates for various infrastructure and park improvements in the new city neighborhood. First, shown in yellow here are the Parsons Street and Lincoln Street parcels, and we're proposing the rehab of those two park parcels. So again, the design, construction documents, and cost estimates, along with community meetings to figure out what the exact program will be for those parcels. Next, we will be doing for the entire neighborhood design for cured in place pipe sewer lining and spot repairs. So that's the areas shown in pink, blue, and green. That will improve the sewer system. The third item we're applying for will be the water, drainage, green infrastructure, streets, and sidewalk improvements shown in blue. That's Oakdale Place, Dartmouth Street, Exeter Street, Federal Street, Glen Clove Place, and in green, Emerald Place. And finally, matching funds for the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant Program for the Emerald Place project, which includes slope restoration, a pedestrian path connection to Everett Street, and a bike bridge over the Lower Mill Pond spillway with a pocket park at the corner of Ferry Street and Emerald Street. So we need your help though to make this happen. If you lived in the neighborhood, we sent you a postcard that looks like the image on the left. The links to the project website. Please go to our website and take the survey. If you live in the neighborhood, or if you know people who live in the neighborhood, please encourage other people to go to our website and take this survey. It's really important that we demonstrate that the neighborhood, what the income and who lives in the neighborhood to our funders, so that way we can prove that we are eligible to apply to this grant program. From the website, you can also sign up for project updates, email project updates, and there's lists and links to other project documents, such as the master plan itself. Budget. So we will be going out to RFP to hire an engineering or design firm to conduct this work. So the numbers shown on the left may slightly change after we receive those proposals. We'll be applying for the entire 1.35 million that we are eligible to apply for. Just a brief discussion of the timeline. The application is due to DHCD on March 3rd. If all goes according to plan, we would be eligible to apply for construction funds for some of this design work in March of 2024. And if that happens, the earliest that any construction would begin would be in September of 2024. So at that point, I want to just ask if there's anyone else from city staff who has anything that they would like to add. Jeff, are you able to? Yeah.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie. That was a good introduction. I did want to note that John Mason, the Parks Director, is also on the call, and I think a couple of Parks Commission members too. I think you just missed that in the introduction.
Sorry.
You know, for some people who are familiar with this project, I think we want to admit that it's ambitious. It's a big area, but it's not unlike a couple of our past CDBG projects where we took a neighborhood approach with design plans, and then we were successful in then implementing the actual changes over time. And so that's definitely the plan, is that we would be tackling the actual construction over time. So the other project was in the Maple Street, Clark Street, and Charles Street area. So, you know, we started that process in 2014, and the construction kind of just wrapped up recently. So we're looking to replicate that in the new city area. And then the only other thing I just wanted to add is that we are trying to align this funding source, which is the Community Development Block Grant, to this neighborhood, because it's really appropriate. And then meanwhile, we have other areas and projects that we have lined up based on other funding sources. So, you know, Cherry Street is under construction, and we are using CDBG, but also the MVP funds. Main Street is a project that we will be announcing soon to look at a redesign of Main Street. You know, that wouldn't be construction until like 2029, but that's a state funded program that we can do. Northampton Street, you know, is a topic of a conversation, and there's state funding available to look at Northampton Street. And then the areas around the elementary schools, you know, if we get redevelopment of those schools, we'd be looking at MassWorks dollars to work on the infrastructure there. And in all those areas, we're looking at fixing or replacing the underground infrastructure, water and sewer, and then fixing sidewalks and things on top of that. So this is kind of one piece of a big puzzle that we have going all throughout the city. I think with that, that's all I really wanted to just share with people. So, and thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there anyone else, or Julie, our engineer, let me know if there's anything you want to add. Otherwise, we can open up to questions and answers, public comment. So, does anyone in the audience have anything that they want to comment on, or have any questions about, or further explanations or anything? Feel free to unmute yourself and Jessica?
Hi, my name is Jessica Allen. I'm a real estate project manager at Valley CDC. These are great projects, and it's exciting to see these infrastructure projects moving forward in New City. A lot of them have been in the works for a long time, so it's great to see them finally getting their due diligence and their day in the sun. I do want to comment on affordable housing, because that is one of Valley's missions. As some of you know, Valley has a CPA grant right now to actively identify a site and do some pre-development work to create new affordable rental housing in the city of Easthampton. Often CDBG is a source that we utilize and is a matching source for other various local, state, and federal sources of funding for affordable housing. And I just want to make a note of that and make sure that affordable housing isn't lost in the action plan, and that it is something that's still going to be a priority under the CDBG program. There are multiple sites that are at play, schools being at one, but there's other potential sites that could hopefully be affordable housing in the future. So I just wanted to make sure that that's in the minutes and in the notes, and make sure that the city doesn't forget about affordable housing as they're moving forward with CDBG action plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Gwen?
Hi, I'm Gwen Morrissey. I'm the chair of the Economic Development and Industrial Commission and a resident over on Mayor Street. And I'm here in support of this particular application. I'm overjoyed at how we make strategic decisions about how to source our funding for various projects like this one. I think the infrastructure work in New City is really, really important. It's been a while since that part of the city got really close attention paid to it. And the work on the parks, not just the infrastructure, but the parks in that area, I think is really valuable. It's a great point that Jessica brings up, keeping in mind affordable housing in every aspect of how we do our strategic thinking. That had not occurred to me. What do I know about community development block grants? But I'm here to say I'm for this, and it's kind of cool to think about what could come in the future with Main Street redesign along the same sorts of lines as what makes these streets and neighborhoods more workable for modern Easthampton, and using those funds intentionally with a lot of long-term planning. So thanks for the effort you put into this.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo our support as well for this project. Looking at those parks, those pocket parks, and the park itself behind the old school for this neighborhood, I think as a whole, the commission's excited about it, the Parks Department's excited about it, so we're happy to be a part of this process and moving this forward and seeing what can be developed for that neighborhood.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Well, it's really the entirety of the meeting then. So I'll ask one more time if there's anyone who has any further questions or comments. Jeff.
Just, I think we're gonna post this video on the New City page, but I would maybe echo a plug that Jamie put in for people who live in the neighborhood. We did send that postcard, and just to say it again, that participating in that survey, it's important for CDBG. It's actually really essential that if we can't demonstrate that the neighborhood qualifies, based on those criteria, then we're not going to be eligible for the fund. So, it is something that when we were doing the community meetings, we did 2 out there, we walked the neighborhood, and that was something that we were talking to the residents about, kind of the importance of filling out that data. So, we are talking about maybe going out and canvassing that neighborhood to make sure that people are taking that survey. So just if people know people who live in that section, and just remind them to take that survey is really important. So it's just my last plug for that.
Well, I don't want to take up any more of your evenings than we already did. Oh, sorry, Stan, please go ahead. You're muted.
Just a quick statement. Online communications that I've seen a tremendous number of complaints about the intersection of Parsons and Ferry Street, that when you're trying to enter Ferry from Parsons, the sight lines are horrible and people feel very endangered trying to do so in their cars. If we can include that little bit of correction in this project, I think it would go a long, long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Is there anyone who, DPW or Jeff, want to respond to that?
I'll take a stab. Stan, I think it's a great comment, and it is definitely something that the city is looking at. The way it breaks down is the area of focus is the New City, so it's Parsons Street and those side streets. The intersection, we think, falls out of the area that might be eligible for this funding source. So we like the city, the planning department and DPW have a separate project that has been evaluating the intersection that we do want to roll in to the grander kind of vision. the big problem that, whether people know this or not, is there's a retaining wall that runs along the side of Ferry Street, and that is creating the obstructed view when you're leaving Parsons. And just unfortunately, the early cost estimates are super high and look at moving the retaining wall back several feet and realigning the intersection. So it is something that the city will need to grapple with in the future. And I think the goal has been to kind of pair it up. If as we get movement with this project, we pair it up with that, and or there is still a phase or two left with the Ferry Street redevelopment. So we're trying to kind of align that Parsons Ferry Street intersection fix with something bigger, but it is on the radar. So I think it's appreciated.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. It's really excellent that we've had such great turnout. Thank you all for providing comments and support. If you have anything that you want to express but didn't feel comfortable speaking out loud, you can email me directly, jwebb@easthamptonma.gov. So, thank you all for coming.